May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke audio podcast. I'm DC Poohbah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, preserving the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths crossed his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today there's another Life in Bali without a guest. I'm just gonna go over some things that happened today and what I'm thinking, so I think I will start with, as this is anything else that comes to mind. One thing that comes to mind is let's do as little harm as possible, I say there. I've gotten that from, like, a couple of times. It seemed like the wisest old person around, when asked what they learned in life, was do as little harm as possible. That's happened several times to me, and I go, wow, I think it's pretty good. And, the implication in there is that's the best you can do. So, I think I'll start off with the COVID report. Bali, there's two interesting things happening. One is very little COVID here. The deaths in the last week were 1. Right now, there's I think yesterday was 2 new cases or something like that. And the number of people who are currently positive that are known here is 67. The numbers were very low for Indonesia, too. Of course, it's hard to know with Indonesia. I mean, there's so much hinterland here and stuff that's sort of off the grid. But anyway, seems pretty good. On the other hand, they're keeping this place shut tight. And that's obviously because of the Omicron variant. Now, I had been influenced by reading an article by the head of the medical establishment in South Africa saying they weren't getting any serious cases from Omicron, No, and this was after they've had it for a while. For a few months, they'd noticed it. It didn't hit the news till till she had written something about it, and she said no hospitalizations or whatever. But that isn't what's happening elsewhere in the world. And there have been some. Apparently, South Africa is continuing to have very little problem with it. That's the last I heard. But I saw one, preliminary study that said it didn't look that much more benign than the Delta or some of the others. So it's I guess it's more serious elsewhere. So the plot continues. Every time we think, well, it's all over now. You remember back the bad flu of 1918, 17 or 18, that it petered out after about 2 years. The variants here have been thrown us for a loop. One thing in Jackie Pomeroy's Facebook Bali COVID-19 report, she said, big news. She has to report every day. She's big news or something like that. The U.S. Army has developed a vaccine, a one-shot vaccine that has already been through step 1 testing, and they're in the process of doing 2 and 3. And they say it's going to work for everything, including upcoming variants. So that's very, that's good to hear. I hope that's true. And so we'll see what happens. But right now, I was talking to Chris next door. He came in the last day it was 2 from Australia. The last day it was 2-night, 3-day quarantine. And then the next day it jumped to 1 week. And then after not very long, it jumped to 10 days. Now, Katrinka's in America planning to come back like January 15th or something, and is hoping it'll be back to a 2-day quarantine and won't jump up to a 2-week like they're considering doing. That's expensive because you got to stay in one of their approved hotels. And also, she's not going to want to rough it in one of the cheapest approved hotels. Like, I'd be tempted to. Yeah, definitely. But and when Lynn came back, I've done Kim. When Kim came back, I've done a podcast with her long ago, and she's a nurse practitioner, midwife, and she flies this medevac out of here. People to Seattle, she went not long ago, and London, people who need to have a nurse with them. And she came back the last time, and it was like 1 week or 5 days. Bali, no international flights are coming into Bali. They're all going in to Jakarta, or what's it called, Medano, in Sulawesi. Katrinka was hoping to come back there because we know a guy who has a dive shop, a dive resort. He said she could stay there. He's approved, but too expensive to fly into there. So, but Kim came back, and the first day in lockdown, her laptop went out, and I think it wasn't a laptop. It was one of these bigger, small screens. I forget what they're called. But it's what she uses. So she ordered another one sent to her right away or something like that in the hotel room, because they don't let you get out of the room. Now, Alice, when she came back with her son from America, and he has a good job in the tech world, they got adjoining rooms with a patio and a suite. That cost bucks. And they were in there 6 days or something like that. And then he brought his cat with him, and the cat had to be 1 day more in quarantine. Anyway, that's what's happening with COVID here. Just very low numbers. Still, everybody, well, it depends on where you are. I mean, pretty much what I see is everybody's wearing a mask. Katrinka will disagree with me, but she gets out further places. She gets involved with distributing food and stuff. But, and we'll have disagreements whenever I say that. But I was sitting there. I bought some Pulse today. I took the dogs. I like to take them for a walk every day. And the best is to go to the beach. But today we just went to get Pulse, and that means either pay for electricity, and then you write the number in the machine at the house, and then it adds it, or phone time, just for regular phone calls. And I got data. We have to get Pulsa and data. Data is internet. And so I was sitting there with the 2 sweet little doggies, and it's open right to the street. And so I said, all right, I'll just look and see people go by. And everybody I saw go by, it's not a real busy street, but it's, it's 2-lane. Well, it's a corner too, so there's two 2-laners. And, I probably saw 50, 60 people, cars and motorbikes going by. And there was one motorbike with 2 kids, like maybe 13-year-old. They didn't have masks on. But they went down to like a dead-end street that's, really small. They might not have been going far. Because you can get stopped for not having a mask and get a fine. I think they would tend to do that to foreigners. Yep, foreigners got, first stop is $1,000,000 rupiah, $70 American. Second stop, without a mask, deportation. But the thing is, you hardly ever see any cops. Really. Very rare. I saw one pulling over a guy, a foreigner, who wasn't wearing a helmet with his bike, and he had his mask down, under his chin. So he was probably going to get a couple of nice tickets there. And I think they pretty much cut out bribes. I mean, they've sure tried. Anyway, so what I see is people wearing masks. And this is people on their motorbikes and in cars. But there's a good deal of laxness. You go into a place. It's just hard for people to take it too seriously with virtually no one coming and reporting it. But we'll see what happens. Okay. So then I got a WhatsApp. WhatsApp's what everybody uses here. I don't know about America, but I mean, we do have phone numbers and use them some, but that's pretty much WhatsApp is the main thing. A little bit of Messenger. Well, more than a little bit of Messenger. Instagram. Phone is just last resort. So, I got one from Benny. Benny's the guy who brings us 2 coconuts twice a week, opens them up, and we get the coconut water and we get the meat. This is what they call new coconut, kalapa muda. And that's a bigger, greener one with the outer shell. Not what you see in America, that's old coconut. Sawi? Kalapa sawi? Or something. We never say it, so I don't know. I think it might be it. That's when you have the hard interior meat, the type you see in America, that like coconut flakes and stuff like that. But mainly it's new coconut. I like them both. The coconut water from both of them is great. Not much different, really, I don't think. But anyway, we have new coconut, right? And so I get quite a bit from these 2. With me by myself, it's hard for me to keep up because I'm getting, that's about 6. That's about a full, large glass of coconut water every day. Easy to drink. I mean, I'm going through 2 of them today, so and it's always pretty good weather for coconut water. It's my favorite drink. In fact, I went to the beach with the dogs 2 days ago, and I ordered coconut water. They brought it in, the coconut. That's just always what I want, or pretty much always. It's great. And that's one thing I think, of living here. I think, what? I won't be able to have fresh coconut water? I mean, coconut water that isn't fresh, it's like, it doesn't compare. Nowhere near. And I also think, we won't have all these types of bananas. That would be bad. This is where bananas come from, in the, South Pacific. So, anyway, Benny was working in the tourist industry, but since there haven't been any tourists for almost going on 2 years now, and about 3 months, a little over 3 months, it'll be 2 years. And it's not going to open up in the next 3 months. Passed our doctor today. He's not really a doctor, but he's helped us. He's got an office, says he's a doctor. People do that here. But he's been helpful. He's been helpful, very helpful. He'd zip over to the apartment when he lived near where we used to live. Man, something wrong, man. I call him. He's over there in a minute. Helps us out, and he teaches at the medical school. And everything he did was by the book, and I'd give him $100,000. That's like $7. He was the one that discovered Katrinka had dengue fever. I mean, I called him up because I knew he's a guy that'd be just right there. We prefer to go to the hospital, which is nearby, or to Kim, who's a real nurse practitioner. But she'd had sort of like a cold or flu for a couple of days. And then she was feeling, I don't know, she just was feeling sort of down. And so I said, I don't know why we called him. I can't remember exactly how she felt. Maybe she was feeling a little worse. So I called him, and he came over, and he took blood. In fact, he brought a nurse with him on a motorbike, the two of them. And he took blood, and he called an hour later and said, get ready to go to the hospital. I said, I think she has dengue. You can't prove it's dengue for a while. But he said all the signs. And that began, That was like 5 days later, she got out of the hospital. Boy, it was a close one, I'll tell you. Anyway, so Benny comes twice a week, and I buy his coconut water. I give him a little more than he charges. I give him $7 a week for that, 100,000. And but his motor scooter is out, and he had to fix it. And he asked me, he said he had one more bottle of Flora's honey. That's like the best honey from here. We buy German honey. The honey from here is all too thin. And a lot of it's cut with water, and they add sugar and stuff, they say. But the Flora's honey that we get is it's good, and it's uncut, and jungle honey. And I buy it from him, and it's too expensive, more expensive than the imported German stuff, but he needs help. And it's $14 for like a tall, thin bottle. How much would that be? I don't know, like a quart, 2 quarts? Anyway, so I said, okay, I'll buy him. And then he came over, and, without a motor scooter, he can't do anything. He'll be, he won't be able to sell his coconut water. So I bought that for him, and I gave him another $200 for Christmas. And this sort of thing is life in Bali now for us, I'll tell you. We try to give as little as we can, but and we only give to people we know, but they need help, like so many people out of work, or we're the only people they're working for. And I've been doing music, and I pay the musicians, and they're all out of work. And, it's not a lot, but you don't need a lot to get by here. Very little. So it's almost everything we do has to do with keeping a bunch of people afloat here. I tell you, there's no room to give to any like general charity. It's just, so many Indonesians we know just need a little to get by. It's true with our landlord. You know, and I made a deal with him to buy a lot more rent because I got, you know, I got a little something, a nice windfall. So I just helped him out with it and bought some rent for the future. Now we're paid up till September 1994. And there was a little left over that my son Kelly is going to be doling out to us once a month over the next 3 years, and you know, a little bit every month, so we can't spend it. So it'll just, and that'll give us just about almost enough to get by on with the sort of donations we get to Cuke archives. All right. So I think I'll tell you one more thing. Today, the engineer I work with, I was over there the last time. Oh, yeah. Our second group of, our first group of 6 songs is Bali Yuga, On the Way to Venus. And you write baliyuga.com. And that'll take you to my music site. And then it says Bali Yuga on top. You click that link, you go to a page for it. So the second group of 6 songs, they're finished. The last day I went to Today's Studio, TUDE, right? Today's Studio, and it's just him and me. Just to listen to them all and do the final tweaking of the mixing, and actually made some, I have definite, things where this song should have so-and-so. I changed one word in one song. There's a song we do on something I wrote using the traditional Indonesian birthday song, and then I added all these weird verses to it. And one of the lines in it said, may the fanatics stay out of your attic and not bring their laws into your bedroom. And then I thought, I better not put that into a song. It's out here. That could end me up getting deported for criticizing a religious law or something. It was unlikely. But I know stories that obscure that happen to people. So I realized all I have to do is change laws to clause. So that was one of the, so see, may the fanatics stay out of your attic and not bring their claws into your bedroom. Well, that could be any sort of thing. See, so that's one change. Another change was bringing up Radha's voice, the female vocalist, on some things. Little things like that. Bringing the drum snare down and some stuff. All right, so we get to the last thing, and I'm very, very satisfied with it. And it's a lot of fun, and keep a lot of people really buying rice and getting by. And cost about, I figured 1/11 what it would cost to do that in America. So anyway, we're through and sitting out talking to Today on his porch. And he said he's hiring a carpenter that works here, a carpenter from Java, to fix his ceiling, which is all falling in there. And he's got an old home with the family. His father lives there and his wife and 2 daughters. And it's got a few buildings, a little villa. And there's a wall with a field on the other side. And he said, I'm going to have Ferry, the carpenter, I'm going to have him make that wall higher. He said, we had a guy climb over that the other night. And I said, you did? He said, yeah, I happened to be sitting out here with a friend drinking some Iraq. Iraq is like the local homemade alcohol. it's like, I don't know, I guess it's made out of coconut. I don't know what it's made out of. But I had some back in 1992 when I was here. But I don't do that sort of thing. I haven't done that sort of thing in a long time. In fact, we're headed in 8 days, it'll be 18 years. So he said, I was sitting out here with a friend, and I had my back to the wall. But my friend's looking at it. My friend said, hey, somebody's climbing over the wall and coming in here. And they turned around and looked, and I said, wow, well, what happened? He said, well, we cut him. He said, he speaks pretty good English, so we talk English. He said, we cut him. But that, you know, I wasn't quite, but I said, what do you mean you cut him? He said, well, we grabbed him and we, grabbed, I guess he had a knife within reach or something. No, but the kitchen's right there. It's, I didn't say, well, how bad did you cut him? But he gave me the impression not very bad, right? And they tied him up. And then, and I said, well, what'd you do then? He said, well, I called the Pechalang. That's the local neighborhood security and in charge of ceremonies in the neighborhood. And anybody in the neighborhood dies, everybody in the neighborhood goes to the service and the cremation. Pechalang are the ones really who are keeping their eye on everything here. And the police are out giving tickets for people not having registration or something. I don't know. I just don't. I've never seen anybody stopped for anything. Other than that, they just check registration, it seems. And they'll have about 8 of them out there stopping not every car. They stop some of them. It depends. They look, the type of license plate and whatever. Anyway, they called the Pechalang. And he said, the Pechalang said, well, what happened when the Pechalang said, oh, they beat him up. You've stabbed him some and you beat him up. I said, well, what happened then? He said, oh, they took him to the police. I said, are you going to have to go to court? He said, no, the police just took him back to his boss, who would kick him out of Bali, send him back to Java. I mean, I said, is he from Java? He said, yeah, always Java. I said that. I said, always Java. He said, yeah, or one of the other islands. Maybe next time I'll say, well, when you say you cut him, I get the impression they just did a little, right? It wasn't any, but he told me, he said, God, I'm glad my friend was here. He's going to have Benny make the wall a lot higher. It's not very tall. It's about 5 feet, He's going to have Benny make it about, a 8-foot wall or so. He's just a cinder block. But he told me, and today, man, he has tattoos all over. His arm's completely covered in tattoos. He's young, he's strong. But he said, if my friend hadn't been with me, I'd have freaked out. I wouldn't know what to do. Now, his father is head Pechalang there. I said, well, your father's the head Pechalang, and he looks strong. He said, yeah, but he's old now. He just watched me. So that's, And then, but another thing I said to today was, I said, the tradition here in situations like that has just been to kill the person. He said, yeah, and that's still done some. In fact, I saw it in the news. It's been a while, been several years. I saw a guy was in Seminyak, sort of more upscale part of Bali, climbing over a wall from a villa, and the people on the other side killed him. And I You don't hear that anymore. Katrinka, the bass player that works with us, he told me it still happens, and that it's considered, still considered an option, and oh God, I'm not in favor of that. I'll tell you, but when I was here in '92, all right, that's what 29 years ago. That was much more prevalent. I remember saying after I left there that I heard 5 separate stories while I was there about every time workers from Java, working on roads and stuff, getting caught stealing or something, and just a mob forming and stoning them to death and beating them to death. One of the stories was, it said a couple of German tourists in Ubud. Ubud back then was just a little podunk town. I mean, it was well known still as the art center, but it wasn't like now. Good Lord. Now it's just completely packed with places to stay, restaurants, stores, and still interesting. There's still a lot of cool stuff happening there. And you can get right out of town walking in beautiful rice fields very quickly. So, and I know people that prefer it now to the way it used to be. They said it wore itself out pretty quickly, 30, 40 years ago. And I know people who were living here then, they said, there were only a few of us, we'd get tired of each other. But it's very lively and happening now. Sort of new agey, a lot of it. We like living here in Sonora. And we like, having, 10-minute walk to the beach, too. And, I'd hate to give that up. But, all right, one of them was there were some German tourists whose luggage was stolen from them. And the police got the guys. There were a couple of road workers from Java. And the police said, maybe there was one police car in Ubud then or something. And a mob formed around the police car, and they pushed all the police away and dragged the guys out of the police car and beat them to death. That's one of the 5 stories. Another one was there was a little warung, which is like a little outdoor restaurant, small one. And there were some road workers working on a road near there. And the last day they worked there, they were going back. What did they do? Did they rob the place, I guess? And they were killed. People just came out of the woodwork. There's a thing here called running amok. That's where that term comes from, is Indonesia. And it's sort of like, because everybody's very calm and polite and everything. And I think all of a sudden you get permission, and you go crazy. That happens to a lot of people in combat, a lot of guys in combat. People can snap. And it's sort of like mob mentality, right? A mob takes on a life of its own, and people change, and their values can radically change. Their actionable values can change in an instant. Anyway, I heard a number of stories back then, at least 5 I remembered. I don't remember them all now. But that's still part of the background here. And, speaking of running amok, I've mentioned it before, but let us not forget the enormous mob violence running amok that happened here and all over Indonesia in 1965-66, where it was there was no limit on what you could do to anybody suspected of being a communist, which meant you could kill any Chinese you wanted, or anybody that owed you money, or there was just, it just went wild. And if you want to see an incredible movie on that, see the acclaimed 2013 documentary, The Act of Killing, which is a documentary on that, which features heads of death squads telling their stories. Anyway, sorry to end on such a bummer, but hey, life, a big part of life is bummer. And we can try to make it as positive and bright and shiny as we can, but the dark clouds form, and they're part of it. So this has been a Cuke audio podcast. This is DC, poohbah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from sleepy Sonora, with Dogette Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and the spirit of dear lovely Katrinka, who is in Oregon, and guest Dogette, Boom Boo, whose official name is Bumble, but nobody can pronounce it, so we say Boom Boo, which means spices. And we're all wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.